Would you be the jerk for baking something for your in-laws knowing your mother-in-law is allergic to it? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling our moms they can't join our vacation? My fiance and I are getting married in August. We're in the thick of wedding planning and stressed AF. He travels for work and has acquired 3 free nights at any Hilton property. We booked the Waldorf Astoria in Cabo. Because he's a Diamond member, we were upgraded to a massive 2-bedroom villa, over 2,500 square feet, all for free. My dad is a flight attendant, and so we get very cheap flights there. Basically, the entire vacation will only cost us about $500. Anyway, both of our moms have asked to join. They're 60 and 70, one divorced, one widowed. We're very close with both of them and like each other's moms well enough, but all they do is talk about wedding planning, and them joining would obviously change the dynamic of the trip. We want to be able to have hooked up, swim naked, do whatever we want, and it'll be different with our moms there. Anyway, I know I shouldn't feel bad, but I do. I feel like we're getting this opportunity of a lifetime that they've never had, and that we owe it to them to allow them to join. I also think having them there could be fun in a different way. They would have their own bedroom and could do their own thing. But my fiance doesn't really want them joining and doesn't want to hear about wedding stuff all vacation. Our moms have brought up a few times how they're so jealous and we're so lucky and they wish they could join, and we sort of just laugh it off. But I feel so guilty, clearly, since I'm asking here. Very curious to hear others' thoughts. Are my fiance and I jerks for saying no? Update, this is not our honeymoon. We're going to Cabo this week. It's just a random vacation to use up free Hilton nights that'll be expiring soon. We'll still have a proper honeymoon after our wedding. I guess what I would want to break down is why OP feels like they owe it to them to bring them along. Like, just because they're your parents and because they've done very nice parental things? I mean, sure, it's nice to give back to your parents, but that doesn't mean that you have to bring them along for every life event you're going to experience. I don't know, maybe I'm just a selfish jerk. I mean, for all the reasons OP listed at the start, I completely understand why you wouldn't want to bring them along. MC Susie commented, "You're not the jerk for saying no, but how did your mothers come to know about this trip? How did they come to know that you would have a large accommodation? You have to learn to keep your business to yourselves." OP responded commenting, "Because we're very close with them, we see them often. It's something we're excited about and want them to be excited for us. I guess I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut, but I also don't want to. I want to be able to share things I'm excited about." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my dad's wife I'm sorry but she's not my mom? I, 16-year-old male, was the product of what is pretty much a friend with benefits type relationship between my dad, at the time 33, and my mom, at the time 22. My mom didn't want to be a mom. Yet my dad didn't want my mom to abort. From what little I've been told, there was an agreement. My mom would leave, my dad would raise me on his own, but if she wanted to, she could come back into my life whenever. The first 7 years of my life were just my dad and I. He didn't date any other woman. It was just us two and his family. I remember my mom would send me gifts on my birthday and Christmas with letters attached. I remember members of her family doing the same. When I turned 7, my mom came back. I started spending time with her. She would take me to parks, zoos, and aquariums, etc. I also met her family. I loved this, although I now know my dad didn't like the fact that my mom randomly showed up out of nowhere wanting to spend time with me, although he did soften up to it over time. I still have contact with my mom. I don't see her as often as before, but I still love her and see her as much as possible. There was no conflict due to the situation at all until when I was 14, my dad met a new woman. I'll call A for this. A and my dad started dating when I was 14, married when I was 15. A brought her twins, 15-year-old male for both, from her previous relationship into her marriage with my dad. I have a good relationship with both my stepbrothers. I have a decent relationship with A, but two things always bugged me. One, how my dad seemed to rush into marrying A. He proposed to her 3 months into their relationship. 2, A wanted me to call her mom literally the day I met her. She had 2 reasons for this. 1, I don't have a mom and I need one. 2, she wants our family to be more united. I always just shrugged this off. I got away with it because when my dad married A, it's like he forgot about me completely and didn't care about me. I also felt like it wasn't my place to complain. That's the context of all of this. We're a year into Dad and A's marriage. A's birthday is coming up. All of us bought her a gift, but she says she doesn't like physical ones and also said she wants a more verbal gift from me. Last night at dinner, I learned what this was. She asked me if I would say yes to letting her adopt me so she could be my mom. Of course, it caught me off guard. I said no, I already have a mom. A doesn't like the fact that I talk to my actual mom still, and she said that she's my mom because she's at home with me every day and is married to my dad. Then called my actual mom a part-timer in my life. I told her no. I'm sorry, I can't be her son, but even if my actual mom is a part-timer, she was there for me a long time before she was. I received an angry scolding for this from both my dad and A. A specifically has been cold towards me since then. I'm struggling to comprehend this and need to ask anonymously if I was in the wrong here. I certainly hope that most people who hear this story think that OP is clearly not in the wrong. A did the classic step-parent trope of coming into the relationship and immediately being like, say hi to new mom or say hi to new dad. From this moment on, you and me, we're gonna get along like best buddies. You're gonna be my new son. You're gonna be my new daughter, whatever it may be. Just break it in now. Just start calling me dad. I would say 99% of the time, the kid is never going to embrace that mindset. Death by Silence commented, she's only been around for how long and she wants to call your mom a part-time mom? Projection much? Edit, she's been there for an eighth of OP's life. She should try and see where she can fit, not shoving a square peg through the round hole. Besides, we all know it's going into the square hole. OP replied commenting, I think it's because my actual mom used to only see me on weekends for the longest time. She has her own business now that makes her busy, so I'm lucky to see her once every 2 weeks. I do text her every day though. She checks up on me all the time via text, but again, it's only once in a while I get to hang out with her in person. Meanwhile, A is someone I see every day. This doesn't change anything. My mom is my actual mom. A is still new to me. Our next story is, am I the jerk for keeping a relationship with my brother's ex-wife when they have 2 kids together? My brother was married to his wife for 14 years and has 2 boys together, 10 and 12. Their marriage struggled a lot, but they made it last for that long. I became super close with his wife, and she was a wonderful wife and mother to him. I know for a fact that my brother cheated on her in the past, even though he won't admit it to me. I'm also 99% sure he left his wife for his current girlfriend, although he won't admit that either. The divorce has been nasty, and restraining orders against him have been in place in everything. They can only speak about the boys. Recently myself, aunt of the boys, and my mother, grandmother of the boys, made plans to get together with the children and the ex-wife. These plans included staying the night at our house because they live out of town. My brother found out and blew up, was super ticked off, but we were firm that this was not fair for the children and the kids deserved to see everyone get along for their sake. My brother talks crap about their mother often, even in front of them, and we always vowed to not take sides for the sake of the kids. Of course, everything escalated. Our other sibling called me, basically telling me we were terrible, how it was selfish to do this to our brother, and how dare we pick the ex over family. Basically, I was told that we were pieces of crap for choosing the children over everything else, and neither of my siblings see it as compassion for the kids. At this, the family is split, and my brother wants nothing to do with us, and neither does my other siblings, apparently. Am I the jerk for letting my brother's ex-wife stay at our house with the kids? Should we not have any sort of relationship with her? In my mind, it's best for the kids to see each side of the family get along and not hate each other. The divorce has been very traumatizing for both of them. You know, maybe I could understand it if OP's brother's ex was an inherently bad person. Like, maybe if they were the ones going around mistreating and cheating on their partner blatantly, I could understand. The family's like, leave that person in the dust, we don't want them around. But it's none of that. It's literally the mother of your nieces and nephews. How could it possibly still be wrong to have a familial-like relationship with that person? Lemon Charlie commented, not the jerk. Your brother can't claim any moral high ground past or present, and he's actively engaging in parental alienation by bad-mouthing his ex in front of their kids. You and your mother being neutral for the benefit of the kids is what should be happening, rather than putting the kids in the middle of hostilities. Document as much as you can for the inevitable custody hearing. Your sister-in-law needs all the support she can get. Our next story is, am I the jerk for no longer wanting to give a house to my sister? My portion of inheritance. A few years ago, our mom passed away unexpectedly and she didn't have a will. So splitting the assets has been more of a headache than any of us anticipated. Most of us, multiple siblings involved, are of a mind that we need to prioritize relationships with each other because we can understand long-term damage that feuding over material things upon someone's death can bring to families. Our mom loved her house and spent her time turning it into a dream home before her death. Some didn't want it sold off. It was then proposed that one of our sisters who has young children be given the house because she was looking at travel trailers for housing and it would be a long-term affordable and stable home. At the time, sale of the house to her and her husband wasn't an option because they couldn't get approved for a loan. They were told that they needed to prepare themselves to get a loan for the house in case the loan wasn't assumable. And unfortunately, they didn't do that, so to this day they still wouldn't qualify to buy it. We agreed on a nice idea to each give the gift of our own inheritance with an unspoken understanding that they would plan on staying there long term. While we figured out the legal stuff, they would move in and pay the mortgage until things are made official. Unfortunately, shortly after moving in, our sister's husband would tell friends and his family that his plan is to sell the house within the next 2 years or rent it out and move. This understandably caused upset because it felt like he was looking at an opportunity to profit, not long-term stability. We proposed a stipulation stating that they would have to reside in the home for 5 years before it would be transferred solely to them as proof that they're serious about making it into their home. But her husband got really upset and wouldn't hear us out. We asked our sister what their plan was, and she said it depended on her husband's work situation, that moving wasn't off the table or fully on it, but she felt 2 years was long enough to consider it long term. With all of this coming to light, a few of the siblings no longer wanted to sign because they didn't feel it would be fair to end up with none of the equity on a short-term living situation. We sought acknowledgement that he understood this was a huge gift and sacrifice of our inheritances, hoping that he would show some gratitude so we could feel good about signing and moving on. But he was not receptive. He feels because he's done some work on the house and has paid the mortgage that it's his. It no longer feels wise to hand over my portion heedlessly, not because of the money, the morality, or the ethics of it all. With the new information about their plans to possibly sell the property after only a short time, the sense of entitlement and lack of acknowledgement for how big of a gift this really is. Am I the jerk for no longer wanting to give away my portion of inheritance? So I don't think OP's the jerk. It all comes down to the fact that they don't want their inheritance flipped off as an asset by somebody that doesn't really appreciate the sacrifices you're taking, especially when it comes at the cost of not only flipping essentially your portion of the inheritance, but flipping it through the sole asset of your mom's beloved house. Not Creative at All 16 commented, "Not the jerk. If sis can't buy it, then she doesn't get the profits from selling it. I get not wanting to sell it to keep it in your family, but why give it to just one sibling? They're already thinking about the money in their pockets after selling their gift house." Nuh-uh. OP responded commenting, "We wanted them to own the house, grow as a family, and we didn't feel it would be right to have any sense of entitlement to the equity if they were there long term, since they were paying and caring for it. It was the plans of selling quickly and profiting off of our generosity that put a sour taste on our tongues. Most of my siblings are extremely giving, humble people without a greedy bone in their body. At the time, it felt right to send them off into life with a leg up and we could sleep well, knowing our nieces were in a beautiful home." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not giving my friend one of the freebies from my skincare order? So I ordered a bunch of stuff during a skincare sale and they were doing the promo where if you spent over a certain amount, they gave you 3 mystery gifts. I didn't know what they were gonna be, but I was excited because I've been broke and haven't treated myself in a while. When the box came, I opened it with my friend there and the gifts were actually kind of nice. A lip mask, a jade roller, and this little overnight cream I've been wanting to try. I was like, oh my god, cute, and set them aside with the rest of my stuff. Then my friend just casually picks up the lip mask and goes, "Oh, this is so nice, thanks for saving this for me." I laughed because I thought she was joking, but she was literally putting it in her purse. I said, "Wait, no, I didn't say you could have that." And she goes, "Okay, chill, it's just a freebie." I told her, yeah, it was free, but it still came with my order, and I was kind of looking forward to using it. She got all weird and said that I was being stingy and that if you didn't pay for it, it's not even a real gift. I didn't even know how to respond to that. I'm not mad, I just feel kind of awkward now and like maybe I overreacted about something small, but also, it was mine. Am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk here. They made an order, they got a freebie, it's their item. This is just a bad friend. That friend should have said, hey look, can I have this? I know it's a freebie. Even that's a little bit something, but at least it would have been acceptable. You know, give the person who the thing belongs to the right of refusal. No, Natasha, you can't have my lip mask. Elegant Bluebird 460 commented, not the jerk. Taking something given to someone else just because it was free is wild and theft. Your friend's toxic side is showing. This would make me re-examine our whole association if it happened to me. What else does she feel entitled to? What other ways does she play the innocent when she's the villain? Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling my ex-wife's new boyfriend names in front of my kids? Alright, I'll, 46-year-old male, make a long story short. My ex-wife, 40-year-old female, left me 2 years ago for our next-door neighbor, after I'd found out they'd been having an affair for about a year. We have 2 kids together, 5-year-old female, 8-year-old male. Unfortunately, the judge gave us split custody. Though if I had my way, she and her new boyfriend would never come near my kids again after what they did. I wish they didn't have to grow up thinking this kind of behavior is acceptable. Anyways, it's been a long, painful process. I'm at my wit's end with this divorce. I'm trying to be the mature adult here, but every once in a while, I'll have a slip up and call our new boyfriend obscene names when referring to him. Sometimes maybe when the kids are within earshot. I know it's not the most mature thing to do, but I can't see why I need to be respectful towards the man who stole my wife and broke up our family. The other day, my ex left me a long voicemail telling me how unacceptable it is to call this guy names in front of our kids. My guess is that one of them repeated an insult to her. Our friend wrote to me to back up my wife, claiming that I was being unfair to my kids. Out of this entire story, how the heck am I the one being the immature and unfair one? I know I'm not perfect, but acting like I'm the monster in this story seems excessive. Am I the jerk? I kind of feel like OP dug their own grave on this one. OP's out here like, I'm trying to be the mature adult. I wish my ex didn't have split custody so the kids didn't have to grow up thinking this kind of behavior is acceptable. And then turning around and trying to immediately excuse their obscene language being used in front of their 5 and 8-year-old children. I know words are just words, even obscene ones, but from a third-party perspective, I would think, to quote OP, most people would wish those kids didn't have to grow up thinking that kind of behavior is acceptable. Cater H commented, you're the jerk, and let's be clear, trying to be the mature adult here is not calling your ex's partner obscenities in front of your young children. And no one believes it's a slip-up. You want your kids to know you hate them, and I suspect you want them to hate him too. I can't see why I need to be respectful towards the man who stole my wife and broke up our family. Because doing otherwise is called parental alienation, and your ex can take you to court for it. You're making your kids feel like they have to choose between you and their mom. Look, I get it. You feel wronged and that this whole situation isn't fair. Too bad. Suck it up for your kids and stop putting them in the middle. Vent to a therapist because behaving like you're entitled to act like a petulant toddler isn't doing you or your kids any good. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not letting my roommate's boyfriend use my car even though it made him miss a job interview? So I, 25-year-old female, share an apartment with my roommate Jess, 24-year-old female. We generally get along okay, but she started dating this guy Kyle a few months ago, and he's been around constantly. He doesn't live here officially, but he's here 5 to 6 nights a week, eats our food, uses our stuff, and never really contributes to anything. It's annoying, but I've tolerated it to keep the peace. I own a car, which I use for work, errands, and occasional weekend trips. Jess doesn't have a car, and neither does Kyle. Last week, Kyle asked me very last minute if he could borrow my car to drive to a job interview. I asked a few questions, where it was, how far, how long you would need it, and it turned out he needed it during a time I'd already told Jess I had a doctor's appointment across town. I said sorry, but I needed it and I couldn't change my appointment. He got ticked and said that I was being selfish and ruining his shot at a better life. Jess backed him up, saying that I could Uber to the doctor just this once because his interview was more important than my checkup. I said no, I'm not comfortable lending my car to someone I barely know, especially not when I already need it. I don't owe him that. They both sulked and gave me the cold shoulder for days. Kyle apparently missed the interview because he couldn't find a ride and is now blaming me for ruining his future. I feel a little bad because I could have changed my appointment if I really wanted to, but also it's my car, my schedule, and I don't think I should have to upend my plans for someone who doesn't even live here. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk, and the way I see it, I don't think this was necessarily him asking to use the car for one interview appointment. I think it was him testing the waters to see whether or not he could take and use OP's car whenever he wants. I mean, if OP capitulated here, they let them take that car, where would it stop after that? You can just take another Uber. I've got a job now, I've got to get places in the morning, you know, and it just spirals from there. 77MIG77 commented, why couldn't he take an Uber to the interview? He should have secured transportation when he set the interview date and time. Couldn't he call a car rental place and rent a car for the day? Enterprise will even bring a car to you. Well, they used to offer that, I don't know if they still do. But let's say you did lend him your car and he goes to the interview, it goes well and he's hired. How's he going to get to work every day? Would it then be your fault if he can't take your car to get to work every day? You were right not to lend it. What if he got in an accident and totaled it? Can he afford to replace it? No, he needs to get a vehicle and then get an interview. National Savings 138 commented, agreed. Like the fact that he had no backup plan sounds like he wasn't really trying to get to the interview anyway. He just wants to continue to be a bum. If the interview was so important to him, he would have made dang sure he went to it. Our next story is, am I the jerk for locking my room door so kids won't get inside and ruin my stuff? So basically, my 19-year-old female parents decided to invite my uncles, who live together, and their families for dinner. Both my uncles have 6 kids, and 4 of each of their children are in a very close age bracket. 2 3-year-olds, a 2-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, a month-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Now, I don't mind them coming over, but the thing is these specific 8 kids do not have any manners despite 3 nannies accompanying the families wherever they go, but refuse to correct the children if they're doing something damaging to the house, like spilling water on the floor or breaking an ornament, and instead the nannies are scrolling through their phones while the children's parents are having discussions with our family in the living room. Now, I have a lot of valuable things in my room, like my handwritten notes, my iPad, my phone, and laptop, that I do not want the kids near, as I know they'll cry and ask for it and break it. Keeping them in drawers isn't viable either, as the kids open drawers as well. So I simply decided to lock my room so no one can enter and everything will be safe. I told my mom and she had no problems with it. Now, throughout the dinner, everything went well until I saw one of my aunts with a buzz of kids carrying her 2-year-old female daughter outside our room and trying to open it as she wanted to change her. She called me over and said the room wasn't opening and that we would have to call the keymaster. I said the room wasn't opening as I'd locked it, and she could use any other room to change her daughter if she liked. Now, she didn't say anything, just looked at me a bit weirdly and went to the other room. I know she complained about it because after the dinner ended, my grandmother was not happy with me and said I was disrespecting my uncle and aunts and saying that they couldn't raise kids properly and being rude that they have too many kids to handle and God was the one giving them babies and we had no right to comment about their fertility. Even though I said nothing like this, she said my cousins also have a right to this house and to see what's inside the room. My parents aren't angry with me and I think I did the right thing, but after what my grandmother said, I'm still wondering, am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk, and any older sibling that's had like a roughhousing niece or a nephew or cousin or even just a sibling knows that you gotta protect your stuff. Like, I'm sorry, but we all know little Tommy is actually secretly a little Tasmanian devil in disguise, and if you leave your Nintendo Switch around for him to grab, it'll probably get damaged. Leah Elizabeth commented, not the jerk. Tell Granny that rude stops where truth begins. Just because they're in denial doesn't mean those kids are raised properly. Also, next time this happens, ask Grandma if she likes to sign a contract that states that she'll personally replace everything the kids break. Our next story is, am I the jerk for making cinnamon bread for my sisters-in-law when my mother-in-law is allergic to cinnamon? I, female 22, have jumped on the sourdough bread train. I now make the bread we eat instead of buying it, and when I make a loaf of bread, I post a picture of it and post it on my story. I've had several people slide up and say that they would love a loaf, including my in-laws. I brought my starter and baking supplies to make loaves for the people who have asked while staying at my mom's. For my in-laws, I made 3 loaves. The sister-in-laws, high school age, wanted a cinnamon swirl loaf, so that's what I made for them. My mother-in-law says she's allergic to cinnamon, so I made her 2 small loaves, regular and a cheddar jalapeno. I baked her loaves first to avoid any cross-contamination, and I wrapped the cinnamon loaf and put it in its own container separate from the loaves that would go to mother-in-law. When I dropped them off, I made sure to tell them that 1 loaf was cinnamon. Today, while we were there, mother-in-law cut herself a slice of the cinnamon bread, saying she wanted to taste it. All of us said that she really shouldn't since she's allergic to cinnamon. She said she would avoid the cinnamon swirl and just eat the plain bread. After more protest, it was clear that she was not going to listen. She ate it, said it was good, and cut another slice. After a while, nothing happened. My husband and I assumed that maybe she isn't as allergic as she thought, and everything was fine. We went back to my mom's house, and an hour later, both of our phones started blowing up. Mother-in-law says I gave her horrible diarrhea with my nasty bread, and is now claiming that I tried to poison her by giving them bread that has cinnamon in it. My husband is pressed that I did everything I needed to do to keep the bread separate, and that eating the cinnamon bread was 100% her choice. She, and now my husband's grandma, are adamant that I shouldn't have brought cinnamon bread into the house at all, and I should have just told my sister-in-laws no. I thought bringing it would be fine. I've been there plenty of times when sister-in-laws had cinnamon rolls on the stove or snickerdoodle cookies in a jar. I assumed that she wouldn't even touch the container because, as far as I had seen, she didn't touch the other stuff. OP's not the jerk here. How can OP possibly be the jerk? You brought the temptation into my house. I couldn't help it. You're a monster. Ma'am, I brought cinnamon loaf for your daughters as a gift to them. You said explicitly you have a cinnamon allergy and then immediately turned around and began shoveling cinnamon loaf into your face. How about you start with apologizing to your daughters for eating portions of their food gift? BoatOnHappy6723 commented, "Hey, I have a cinnamon allergy. I always bring my own dessert and would absolutely never expect family or friends to not have what they want because of my allergy. You are absolutely not the jerk, and your mother-in-law sounds like a whole lot of work." OP responded commenting, "This has been something I've actually said in the past. I'm allergic to raw berries, but in-laws really like berry picking in the summer. They've invited us and I either go and just carry the buckets, or I don't go at all. I'm not expecting them to choose a different activity, and I always appreciate being invited regardless, but if I went and picked berries and got a rash, I would say that I shouldn't have done that and not, why did you invite me?" Our next story is, would I be the jerk for excluding a family with a badly behaved autistic child from the neighborhood pool party? I host the monthly pool party/barbecue for the neighborhood families. I buy about $200 in steaks, hot dogs, and drinks, book the community party room, and send out invites and reminders. It's become a great way for the adults to connect and catch up while the kids swim and play. One of the neighborhood boys doesn't behave appropriately, i.e. splashes kids in the face when they ask him not to, pushes kids into the pool, calls them names, growls at kids if they win a game, doesn't follow the rules of games and such. It's unpleasant for the other kids, and he makes the younger ones cry. His mom yells and threatens to take him home, but she doesn't, so he continues misbehaving. I'm not well informed on autism, however, my stance is that his parents are responsible for ensuring their kids behave appropriately or removing them. Instead, other parents have to get involved to yell at the kid to leave theirs alone or comfort their crying kid. After the last party, 2 of the kids asked me to not invite that boy again because he ruined the day for them. I agree with them and believe that as part of my responsibility of hosting is to create a guest list of people who add positively to the event. My husband disagrees because 1, he thinks I should bring up the issue to the boy's parents and give him one more chance. 2, we can't actually exclude them since it's a community pool. And 3, he's just conflict avoidant and doesn't want to ruin relations with neighbors. What do you think? Would I be the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk here. Unfortunately, I also don't feel like this is a decision that you ever really feel good about doing. I mean, genuinely, it's not about any kind of like disability or anything like that. It's just if there's somebody at a party who regularly makes other people uncomfortable or negatively impacts the events for other people on a regular basis, what other option do you have? Manakitten commented, I am unfortunately very familiar with having to parent other people's out-of-control kids in order to protect my own. It sucks, mostly because I'm not getting paid to watch your kid in public, just because you decided to take your kid to a children's museum with no intention of interacting with them. This one kid is not only putting other children in real danger, a pool is not the place for roughhousing and bullying, but he's ruining the day for the parents too. In my opinion, it's time for his mom to learn that if she can't behave appropriately in public, then she is not invited. Her kid is an extension of her and her responsibility. You aren't ostracizing a child, you're setting boundaries with his mom, not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for canceling my mom's surprise farewell dinner because she called me messy? My mom, 59-year-old female, and I, 27-year-old female, have been living together for the past 10 months. I say living together because I'm only home 2 to 3 days a week. I usually stay at work or with my boyfriend. She moved with me to Europe from Latin America. It was hard for her to adjust at first, but she's active and has built a little community here. She's retired and brought some savings to live and travel. And when she moved in, I started covering rent and bills. I'm lucky to have a good job and was okay with supporting her. We don't have the best relationship. I felt free for the first time when I moved out at 20, but I still wanted to be there for her. We share my room, I have roommates, and she's been living with me while we handled some long paperwork processes. Now she's going back to her home country, so I planned a surprise apparicena, small dinner party, at a restaurant with family and friends. The idea was to tell her that we were going shopping so she wouldn't suspect anything. I was getting ready and, to be fair, I can be messy when picking an outfit. I lay clothes everywhere. I eventually picked something, did my makeup, and suggested we leave early to take pictures of the park since the flowers are blooming. Suddenly, she said we couldn't leave because I had to clean up. I told her I would do it when we got back, but she insisted, "You always say that and never do it. You're arrogant and disrespectful. I can't talk to you." I offered to clean right then, but she kept going, calling me stuck up. Maybe just because I was dressed nicely? It hurt a lot. I started crying. It brought back bad memories from how she treated me growing up. I called my boyfriend and cousin because I was so upset. Then I told her, "You have no right to talk to me like that. I never disrespect you. That stuck-up daughter of yours planned something really nice for you today, and now you're making me feel ashamed when I've spent so much time and money." She responded, "I'm not going." I was furious. I canceled everything. 15 minutes later, she came back and said, "Let's go." But I was emotionally done. I told her no, it's canceled, and left to see my boyfriend. It's been a day, we're not talking. I've gotten mixed opinions. Part of me feels guilty. This was supposed to be a good memory for both of us, but I also feel really hurt. So, am I the jerk for canceling the dinner? OP's not the jerk here. I really hope that they don't go crying back to their mom after their mom treated them so coldly like that. The last thing OP needs to do at this point is give the mom any feeling like it's okay what they did. Lost Ballad commented, "Not the jerk. You offered to clean up to resolve the problem so you could go, but then she continued with her rant before saying she didn't want to go. I would have canceled everything too, plus you can also hardly continue to go to the party as if nothing happened after already canceling everything." Our next story is, am I the jerk? My husband woke me up in the middle of the night for a dream. My husband's a bit of a drama queen. He's needy when he gets sick, very in touch with his feelings, communicative. I love him, but sometimes he's a bit much. Last week, I got COVID. I was in bed for 4 days and he slept in the spare room so that he minimized exposure. Last night, he slept in bed with me for the second night back. At 1 a.m., he rolls out of bed onto the floor, moaning loudly. I thought he was having a heart attack. He gets up and walks into the bathroom and then falls to the floor. I was up now and trying to figure out what to do because all he was doing was moaning. He finally says to pour water over him. So I get a cup and pour water over him. I felt him. He was pretty hot, so I figured he got COVID. Then he tells me to put on the shower for him, so I did. He's still laying on the floor, not talking. He gets in the shower and then stays for a while. He sat in the shower. He finally gets in bed and I was prepared to get him some medicine to bring down the fever, and then he tells me he had a bad dream. This whole drama was all because of a freaking bad dream. Not COVID, not a heart attack, a bad dream where he was being poked with a sharp object repeatedly. To top it all off, he fell right back to sleep, and I was up for 2 hours trying to get back to sleep. Needless to say, I woke up ticked. He felt I wasn't being sensitive to his needs. I've never had a bad dream like that, so maybe I was. But at the same time, who does that? Wakes their spouse up in a panic, not communicating, and then complete disregard for their sleeping spouse just hops back into bed like it was no big deal and then gets his feelings hurt because I'm tired and irritated. A little backstory, my dad is a narcissist and frequently did things like this to my mom and us. He would lay down in the middle of the hallway when he was sick and make us walk over him while he moaned in agony. He would throw temper tantrums because he wasn't the center of attention, or he would have angry outbursts and throw things. I had a little PTSD flashback because of what my husband did last night. I'm an officially diagnosed person with PTSD caused during my childhood by my father and have participated in EMDR therapy. I also take prescription medicine and melatonin to go to sleep and stay asleep, so sleep is an important commodity in my world. We've been together for 3 years and married for 2. This is not our first marriage. We're in our 50s and have grown children. None of my other relationships had random nightmare drama, so am I the jerk? Update: after posting this and getting feedback, I let him know about my past experiences with my dad. The fact that I was genuinely debating calling 911 and asked him if he had done this before. He also knows my sleep troubles, so we talked a little bit about that. He and I really do have a great relationship. I love him, I just didn't know how to respond to this because it's never happened to me before and I was super tired this morning. I even took a nap today, which my doctor says I shouldn't, to keep my sleep regular. I found out that this happened before about 2 years ago, before we started living together. He says it happens when he's stressed. He and I don't share finances except for home expenses, and he's a freelancer. He's stressing about taxes. I did tell him that we need to go see a doctor if this gets any worse, just to check if there's anything we can do to alleviate this in the future for him, and he needs to talk to me about what's stressing him. Well, I'm glad that this got figured out for OP and their partner. I mean, I can't really fault OP for in the moment being flustered and frustrated and upset, because you just don't really understand. I don't think OP really did anything that actually makes them a jerk. Now, if OP, especially after learning why this happened, went on to say, "Oh, you're a horrible person, how could you not think of me in the moment?" then maybe you would start pushing that closer to the "you're the jerk" territory. LiveKindly01 commented, "Not the jerk. No one wants to be woken in a panic in the middle of the night. Could it be your husband wasn't fully awake so he wasn't behaving normally? Like, if it were the middle of the afternoon and he was really sick, would he be so dramatic? You may have to cut him a break if perhaps he wasn't fully cognizant of what he was doing. On the other hand, you're perfectly within your right to say, 'I understand you had a bad dream, and they can be very disturbing for sure. However, I need you to see that your actions were alarming and that I thought you were having a severe medical issue, or were very sick. This caused some panic, and then I couldn't get back to sleep. I am sympathetic, and I am happy to comfort you when you've had a bad dream. However, I'm asking that you please calm my nerves and let me know that it was just a bad dream right away so that I don't have to be stressed, and I can help you appropriately.' Meaning he can start his own shower while you go back to bed." Our next story is, am I the jerk for spoiling a family trip because I'm unwilling to sleep on a blow-up mattress for 2 weeks? Where do I even begin? My brother, sister-in-law, and 18-month-old niece live out of the country, so it's a big deal for them to finally come for a visit, and rare that we all get to be together. My parents and significant other live on the West Coast, and I live on the East Coast. Anyway, we're all planning on meeting for 2 weeks at my grandpa's, RIP, old lake house that we grew up visiting. It's a super tiny lodge, maybe 1,000 square feet max, so surprise, there's only 2 bedrooms. Being the youngest, I've been automatically delegated to the living room. Sleeping in there with all the cousins was fine when I was 14, but I'm nearly 30 now and that dang pull-out couch is 20 years older than me. Keep in mind that my fiance is coming and meeting the family for the first time. I think she deserves to be comfortable and have some sense of privacy and a new environment. I've now mentioned to everyone that I won't be sleeping there several times, which has seemingly been ignored and unsupported. As the youngest sibling, I'm not new to getting last pick, but it upsets me that this is extended into adulthood and being pushed onto my fiance. Making it increasingly complicated is that the nearest Airbnb, option 1, is a 25-minute drive and $2,000 for 5 nights, and the only RV to rent, option 2, within a 2-hour pickup, is also close to $2,000. All the nearby motels are booked up. The fact that we might not have wanted to sleep in the living room for 2 weeks was never really considered by anyone else. My significant other and I having to front this additional cost is hurtful enough, let alone the rest of the family not caring or even acknowledging that we just want to have a room or decent bed. The best they've done to help resolve is help get us a tent and a blow-up mattress for outside. I've decided that I'll go by myself and sleep in the living room for around 4 nights, as that's the max amount of bad sleep I think I can handle. The solution apparently is ruining the trip for everyone and making it all about me. Am I the jerk? Edit, the toddler is also sleeping in the living room because the second bedroom has no extra space. I think OP's not the jerk. They were not consulted, they were not factored into this properly, they were never really given a good choice or even really a good option to make things bearable for them. I mean, the simple fact comes down to OP's not obligated to go, and if the conditions aren't such that makes OP want to go, are they really the jerk for saying, no thanks? Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my friend I won't set him up with anyone because he's emotionally immature? So I, 30-year-old female, have a friend, Ryan, 31-year-old male, who's been in my social circle for a few years now. We met through work and have become friends after bonding over shared interests, and he's generally a good guy. Funny, kind, etc. He's been single for a while and started recently asking me to hook him up with one of my single friends. At first, I kind of brushed it off and said they weren't really his type, or they weren't looking right now, but he kept pressing. Eventually, I told him I wasn't super comfortable playing matchmaker, especially when I've seen how he handles relationships. For context, Ryan has a bit of a pattern. He jumps into things super fast, gets clingy really early on, like texting 24/7 and needing constant reassurance, and then when there's any sort of conflict or miscommunication, he either shuts down or spirals into guilt-tripping behavior. He's admitted he has some abandonment issues, which he's working on, but from what I've seen, he hasn't really done much besides acknowledge them. I've had female friends tell me his past dates were emotionally exhausting, so I was honest with him and said, look, I care about you, but I don't feel comfortable setting you up with someone I care about when I think you still have some emotional stuff to work through. Well, he got really offended. Said I was judging him and basically called me fake for being his friend but thinking so little of him. I told him that being honest was me being a friend, and that I would rather be straight with him than set up a situation where someone ends up hurt or awkward. He hasn't responded to me since, and now I'm wondering if I was too harsh or out of line. I genuinely didn't mean it in a mean way, but maybe I should have just lied or kept it vague. Am I the jerk? I'm gonna be honest, if I were in OP's position, I don't know if I would even feel comfortable playing matchmaker regardless. That said, OP's not the jerk. They were being honest, and honestly, a friend that is willing to just look you in the face and tell you, like, the truth? That's worth way more than the friend that will keep it vague. The Scorpion Queen commented, not the jerk. You were honest and upfront, and I would have done the same thing probably. But isn't this reaction basically what you would expect from someone who's emotionally immature and tends to shut down or spiral into guilt-tripping behavior? Unfortunately, it can be just as hard to be a close, honest friend to someone like that as in a relationship with them. Our next story is, am I the jerk for removing access to certain things from my roommate that refuses to pay rent? I'm the only one on the lease and the head of the household. I take care of all of the bills, including the late fees when my roommates are late or just refuse to pay. I have a roommate that moved in last August to help with rent and other bills. It's now April of the following year with no payments towards rent. She has 3 kids between the ages of 3 and 8 with 2 different baby daddies, which I'm often not made aware of when they're coming to visit, despite being told that she needs to tell me beforehand, and she only has the youngest full-time. She lost her job shortly after moving in and has since refused to get another one, stating that she can't work and take care of them. In October, I gave her a 30-day notice, which included a forgiveness for past due rent as long as she left. After the 30 days, she stated that she wasn't going to leave and I couldn't make her because she's been there long enough. At that point, it was only a couple months. Since then, these are the following actions that have been made, to which she has complained about to our other roommate who used to be her friend. He stopped when her actions threatened his housing, removing access to our Wi-Fi, to which she stated, "I saw this coming, but this affects the kids. What are they gonna do now?" Removing all the dishes and kitchenware. We paid for them, and whenever she did the dishes or had her oldest do them, there would still be food and grease on them and I would have to wash them again before even using them. Removal of the microwave after telling her multiple times to keep it clean, especially after her kids use it. It was often disgusting and now hardly works. She eventually got her own plates and microwave in her room. We thought about locking the fridge and freezer as our food has gone missing multiple times. Install cameras in our rooms as some small items have also gone missing. Since her refusal to move out, she has been banned from Dollar General due to theft, refused to find work or follow the rules, has more than tripled our electricity, which was $30 prior to her moving in and almost $200 in the winter, won't contribute to anything, and we had to have a 4th roommate move in, which we don't have the space for, just to cover her rent. My landlord is aware and refuses to take action. I believe that when you have kids, they are entirely your responsibility. They're also the only reason I didn't take further actions to have her removed in the winter. Due to the kids being involved, it's made me feel bad when perusing actions, and it's been the main reason for the delay of said actions. However, they can't be used as a crutch to guilt trip people into allowing you to do whatever you want, and the freeloader has absolutely no remorse for her actions. So, am I the jerk for refusing to access to certain things for the freeloader? And does anyone have any advice that could help resolve this situation? So, I say, look, I feel bad for those kids just as much as anybody else, but this can't go on forever, and OP has clearly let this go on for way longer than they ever should have. I mean, where's the end? When they finally graduate high school and go off on their own? Kimba the Tabby Lion commented, "You're the jerk for letting this go on this long. Evict her. If you want to give thousands to support single mothers, please do so, but this isn't the way." OP responded commenting, "I tried going about it the civil way. After the first 3 months when I gave her a notice, she refused to leave. The cops refused to remove her as well and said it was a civil matter. Been struggling to keep the bills paid since, could barely afford food myself for a while, but hopefully soon I'll be able to contact a lawyer. Regardless, thank you for the feedback." Junkatorius commented, "You don't need a lawyer. You should be able to find all the pertinent info for eviction in your location online. You can probably even buy a template or complete documents to file. If you live in a city, they probably have info available through a dedicated department, but what agency that might be varies. It's a fairly straightforward process. Fill out the required forms, collect all documentation including her lease, any texts where she admits not paying, etc. File the case yourself. Show up on your court date. She probably won't, since she knows she'll lose. She gets evicted. You really should change your bedroom doorknob to one that uses a key, even with cameras. She's exactly the type who will move when you're not home, taking everything you have of value. Anything she likes and personal items she knows are sentimental to you." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not buying my stepdaughter a new car after she's repeatedly gotten into accidents? My stepdaughter is not a good driver. She wasn't a good driver when she was a teen and certainly not as an adult. When she was first learning to drive, she did very fast, hard brakes. She repeatedly left her car's lights on or left her car unlocked. When she first got her permit at 16, we gave her 2 rules. We would help buy her first car, but she would be on her own for car insurance, gas, and upkeep. If she wanted a car, she needed to be the sole caretaker of it, and it was on her to ensure she was taking good care of it. Her brothers had the same rules. 3 months into her being 17, she got into her first accident. It was her first time driving in the ice, and she slid. Her car hit another car. It wasn't a serious accident, but it caused roughly $1,000 in damages. Her car drove for another 2 months, but the transmission went out eventually. She bought it at 160-ish miles, so none of us were surprised it didn't last very long. When she was 19, she was in another car accident. While on the highway, a semi-truck tried to merge while riding next to her. She sped up, and during it, another car tried to merge right as she sped up. The car was total. Outside of whiplash and minor wrist injuries, she was okay. Because of the accident, we made her get her own insurance because our payment went up. 3 weeks ago, she was involved in another accident. Again, on the highway, she was passing on an on-ramp and a car coming on hydroplaned and lost control of a ladder in the back of its pickup truck. It again totaled her car. It couldn't leave the scene, and we had to get her to bring her back to college. The other driver broke his collarbone, and she has whiplash, a shoulder injury, and some facial damage that should heal in the next bit. The police officer told her that it wasn't her fault, but obviously we have to wait for the insurance to make that call. Once she got home from the ER, she asked for us to help her purchase a new car. She said that it's not practical for her to constantly walk everywhere until she could afford a new car. She makes $21 an hour as a CMA at a nursing home, so it won't take her long to buy a cheap car. From her apartment, she's about 1.5 miles from college, 0.25 miles from a grocery store, and 4 miles from her job. I think for the time being, she can walk, ask for rides from friends, or use an app. We don't have public transportation, but lots of sidewalks. She can walk the entirety from her apartment to class, most to a store, and on and off from her job. My husband wants us to purchase a new car and have her pay us back. I don't think this is the right move. To date, the only time we have ever helped buy a car is when they all started driving and we only paid half. She only saved $2,000 for her first car, so we only gave $4,000 for a new car. One of her brothers saved up $10,000, so we gave $10,000. If we start doing this now, we will walk down a very expensive walk. I've gotten mixed reactions from others. Thoughts? Am I the jerk? I would just say A, help out your darn kid, and B, who is OP to go on here and say, oh, she's a terrible driver. From the moment she got behind the wheel, she broke hard, she forgot to turn the lights off, she's a terrible driver. By the way, the last 2 car accidents, completely not any fault of her own, but remember guys, I prefaced this with saying she's a really bad driver, so that means we're okay not helping her out, right? Like, what is that character assassination OP tried to open with? Slappy Slapsticker commented, I don't think it's a jerk move to lend her the money and she can pay you all back, if you can afford it. This is where I think you're the jerk. Reading through her list of accidents, they all seem like that. Genuine accidents. Completely unrelated to her being a bad driver or leaving the lights on in her car, which I was surprised about because the start of your post makes her seem like a terrible driver who's at fault for her crashes. Yet, not even Lewis Hamilton could avoid someone aquaplaning into him out of nowhere. Our next story is, am I the jerk for yelling at my mom for eating peanut butter in her own house? My daughter, 2.5, was diagnosed with peanut allergies and pistachios and cashews a year ago. She became almost unconscious, vomited, and landed us in the ER, not anaphylactic. It was terrifying to see my baby go through that. I love my mom so much, we're really close, and she loves my daughter like crazy. Ever since the diagnosis, everyone in my family has been in agreement to not eat those nuts around her. It seems so obvious and easy to my brothers and my dad, but my mom keeps making what I think are dumb decisions. When we go on vacation, she will go out of her way to bring big bags of nuts and nut candy with her. She brought a little bag of pistachios when she stayed at my house one time and started shelling and eating them in my living room after my daughter went to sleep. She bought peanut M&Ms to eat on a plane ride we all took together. On these occasions, I kept my cool as I asked her not to do these things and pointed out the ridiculousness of having her eat the one thing that my daughter is allergic to. Well, we've been staying at her house for the past few days, and this morning my mom was eating a sandwich. My daughter went over and asked for a bite, and my mom said, "Sorry, sweetie, you can't have this, it's peanut butter." And I kind of completely lost my crap. I asked her calmly why she was eating peanut butter, and she said, "I don't know," as she dumped it in the garbage and then I kind of lost it. I got very emotional and raised my voice, something I never do, and I chewed her out for always eating nuts around my daughter even though she knows she's allergic, even though I've asked her not to multiple times. I told her that I want to trust her so badly to watch my daughter without me there, but I just don't. I can't. And then I cried and stormed out of the room. Anyways, am I the jerk for yelling at my mom in her own house over this? OP's not the jerk. Obviously, it's free reign for them to eat peanut butter whenever they want, as long as OP and their daughter aren't around or going to be soon around. It's kind of like having just a base level of respect and awareness of the people around you. I mean, it's fine that you have a slip up here and there, you don't really think about it until they're present in the moment. But like after a while, you think that they would understand, oh, the kid's going to be around, I probably should avoid the peanut butter that could unalive her. Impossible Disc 43 commented, not the jerk. I remember reading the coconut oil story on here. It's easily the saddest story I've read on this site. Basically, a mother had a daughter who was severely allergic to coconut. The little girl's grandmother didn't like her granddaughter's curly hair and, while babysitting her grandchildren one night, decided to treat the little girl's hair with coconut oil. In the morning, the little girl was gone because she was far more allergic than her grandmother thought she was. Ever since, the mother has been no contact with the grandmother, and as I remember, every so often, the grandmother calls to apologize, beg forgiveness and another chance in her life, but all the mother can say is, "When you bring my daughter back." It's as impossible to forgive her mother as it is for her daughter to come back. It's a tragic story, and I really think everyone should read it if they have a loved one with an allergy, so they remember to never get cocky with someone's health. So no, you're not. She's threatening your daughter's life. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that I don't want to share a baby name? My sister-in-law and I are both pregnant with girls due within 2 months of each other. I'm first. We shared with them the baby's middle name before they found out they were having a girl, and they recently told us that they were considering a nearly identical first name and the same middle name. When I was surprised that it was almost the same exact name, she acted surprised like we haven't previously shared the name, which we did on multiple accounts. She said she was okay naming them the same if she decided on that name. I said it could be confusing and I'm not okay with it. She's now been sharing with everyone that they decided to name the baby that name, and I feel extremely pressured and manipulated into going along with it. I feel like she took the name, it's not significant to her in any way, I asked, and when my husband and I previously shared the name, we explained the significance, etc. I think OP's not the jerk here, but really, they just need to go with the name they want to give their kid. And I would even go on that campaign tour of making it clear to anybody who will listen that you had this name first, that you planned to name your kid this, and they decided to piggyback on that for no reason with no consent. Like, I would get out there on the PR smear campaign immediately. That one girly X05 commented, "Not the jerk, but why are you going along with it and letting her pressure you? Use the name you and your husband have planned for your daughter and let her name hers whatever she wants. You're giving birth first, so it'll look like she copied you, and I suspect she'll backtrack, and if she doesn't, that's her choice." Smog the Hedgehog commented, "I would just start talking about how honored OP is that her sister-in-law admires her so much that she wanted to name her baby after hers. That OP feels so lucky to have a Susie and a Susie Jr. in the family. How she loves that there will be both Susie and baby Susie. That Susie will have a mini-me. Really be super sweet and kind when talking to others, but solidly bring up and emphasize how sister-in-law is copying her, and that the second baby will never have their own identity. Drill it into people's heads so that they start bringing it up to sister-in-law as well. That they are the ones now telling her how lovely it is that sister-in-law wants to honor OP like that. Bonus is if she can get a nickname like Susie Jr. or Baby Susie to stick, using the actual name she chose, of course. Our next story is, am I the jerk for removing all phone tracking from my parents who keep using it to see my location for non-emergencies? Here's the situation. I, 24-year-old female, am married and live in a different state than my parents. I've had iPhones Find My Friends app since I had a phone at 12 years old that my parents set up. When I got married, my husband found it strange that my parents could see my location once we moved out. but I just figured that they would want it on for safety. Come 2 years later, my brother, 21, who still lives with my parents, gives me a heads up that my parents were judging my actions based on my location. I figured it would be a good time to remove that app anyways, and thus deleted their ability to see my location. This blew up into a whole situation where my parents are now saying that it was providing them comfort and safety to know where I was, and it was just a mishap and a bad day for them. Additionally, my dad decided to retaliate and remove my access from all streaming services he paid for, and threatened to remove my brother from the Wi-Fi for tattling as well. Am I the jerk for removing them from seeing my location? My husband has never heard of parents seeing their kids' locations once they moved out, but my parents seem to think it's the end of the world. Just wanted to get other people's thoughts. Thanks. Edit, thank you all for the advice and thoughts. I originally posted this as I've heard of other families sharing locations as adults, so I felt like the odd one out for not wanting this. However, you guys have helped me realize this is not normal. Additionally, I want to make mention that I'm completely fine paying for my own streaming services and already pay for the ones that don't allow sharing on my own. This is the only thing my parents had been providing financially. I brought it up as a point of their reaction to help provide context to the situation. I think it's pretty clearly open and shut, not the jerk. If you don't want to share your location with anybody, you're not obligated to, besides the NSA, of course. I just don't play nice at all with the, well, it's an emotionally comforting thing for us to be able to know where you always are. Please don't take it away from us. Like, I just find nothing wholesome with that. Banterphobic commented, not the jerk. Even when you were under the impression that the tracking feature would only be used for strictly safety-related reasons, you had every right to stop using it because you're an adult with a right to make your own choices. Once it became clear that your parents were using the app to just kind of judge your life, any remaining reason you may have had to keep it switched on went out of the window. Keep it as it is and don't look back. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.